Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Welcome back, adventurers. It's time to throw on a disguise and talk our way into somewhere we don't belong as we discuss the skill Deception. Deception is the first of our charisma-based skills. Like many other TTRPGs, charisma-based skills are extremely useful in social situations and the social pillar of play. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, they also have combat utility and applications, as we'll see with some of the skills. And we've seen the same thing with other skills that we've gone through that normally in other TTRPGs don't have combat application. There are untrained and trained actions that we will talk about for Deception, and then as usual, there are just a lot of feats to talk about as well. So we're going to jump in and discuss the untrained actions first as we do. Our first untrained action, so anybody can use this, is create a diversion. This is one action and one of those combat applications we talked about. You are going to attempt some sort of physical or verbal distraction using deception against the target's perception DCs, and this can be for multiple creatures. If you succeed or critically succeed at the checks against these creatures, you are now hidden, but all you can do if you want to stay hidden is either step or use stealth to hide or sneak. If you do attack a creature that you're now hidden from, that creature is off guard to your attack, but afterward you become observed again. If you fail, you are not hidden from the creatures, and they know you were trying to distract them. Any creature you attempt this against has a +4 against future attempts. So you can't just keep trying and think it's going to work great the next time. Impersonate. This is a 10-minute activity, and it requires a disguise kit. Most creatures have to choose to make a perception check to see through your disguise. So you are, in fact, making a disguise here. If you interact with a creature, it will get a perception check to see through it. However, when you attempt to impersonate, you roll a deception check against the creature's perception DC, and if you succeed, they believe you are who you say you are. If you fail, they can tell you are lying about who you are, and if you critically fail, the creature is able to recognize you for who you really are as well. This is almost always a social encounter ability, considering how long it takes and its purpose, but there you go. Our last untrained is Lie. This is also one round, so it can be done in combat. You roll a deception check against the target's perception DC. See some commonalities there. If you succeed, the lie is believed. If you fail, the creature doesn't believe it and gets a +4 bonus to not believe you in the future when you try to lie in conversation, and probably will be pretty suspicious of you from there on out. It's unlikely lie will come up as a useful thing to do in combat, but it certainly can. Our one trained action, so you just have to be trained to get this action, but you will get it once you're trained, is Feint. This is one action, and you have to be within melee range of the target. You falsely present as if you're attacking the foe. So this is something we see in real life. If you've ever watched fencing, this is very common. You make a deception check against the perception DC of the creature. Again, very common with deception here. If you critically succeed, it is off guard against your melee attacks until the end of your turn. So you can do multiple attacks with them off guard. If you succeed, they're off guard against your next attack. If you fail, nothing happens. And if you critically fail, you fail so badly that you are now off guard to that creature until the end of your next turn. So critically failing this is bad, which is to say, sure, you got trained, but then you never put anything into it and you don't have any charisma. Probably want to be careful about this one. All right, so you'll notice that there are a solid mix of combat and social-based actions you can take with Deception. Both sides of the coin get expanded upon with the skill feats as well. So let's jump through these skill feats just like we do in alphabetical order and starting from level 1 and working our way up. Charlatan, level 1, trained. You attempt to make your uses of magic items look like you're casting spells. So this affects the way that creatures perceive you using magic items and might perceive that you are a magic user when you are in fact not. Varying levels of value here really leans into people who are very creative with their activities. Charming Liar, level 1, trained. If you critically succeed at lying to a creature, it now only believes the lie. It not only believes the lie, it actually improves its attitude toward you. as if you succeeded on a diplomacy check. So suddenly your lying can make people like you better. Lengthy diversion, level 1, trained. When you crit succeed to create a diversion, you remain hidden for at least one more round. How long is up to the GM, of course, so it kind of plays into it, and get your GM on board if you're going to take this, but this can make creating diversions really powerful for your character. Lie to me, level 1, trained. You can use your own deception DC to know if you're being lied to. You don't have to rely on perception anymore. So if you feel like you're in a campaign that's going to have a lot of back and forth in these encounters, and the GM's going to run it this way, this could be you. Backup disguise. This is uncommon. It's level 2, requires expert, and requires a firebrand's background. You have a backup disguise that you can put on to impersonate using just 3 actions. 2 if you're master and 1 if you're legendary. You can make a backup disguise in 10 minutes preparation time, and you can only have 1 at a time, so it can be used to impersonate just anyone on the fly. A lot of requirements though, so check with your GM. Confabulator. That's a word. Level 2, expert. You get to reduce the bonus a creature gets on subsequent checks when you create a diversion or lie from a +4 to a +2, +1 if you're master, and +0 if you're legendary. So if you really want to go this route where you're going to be using create a diversion a lot, or if you're going to lie a lot, this could be a nice way to allow you to repeat the action without hurting yourself too badly when you do fail. Discreet inquiry, level 2, expert in deception or diplomacy, goes for either one. You can better hide your intentions when gathering information. If someone tries to find out if you have been trying to gain information about a specific topic in town, their check goes against your deception DC, which is going to help you out, because if you've been really playing into deception heavily, it's likely you have a very high deception DC. Fleeing diversion, level 2, expert. If you crit succeed at a create a diversion against at least half the targets, you can immediately use your reaction to hide. Sneak or step being hidden as usual. So you don't have to succeed against everybody now. You just have to do it at least half the targets you chose. So that's actually a really nice bonus. You can still hide even though things didn't go perfectly your way. If you're going to use crit diversion, great insurance policy. Half-truths. Level 2, expert in deception or diplomacy again. You can use deception to make a request, which usually requires diplomacy. You can also make diplomacy checks to lie. So this allows you to be good at either one and use some of what the other can do in social situations. Quick disguise, level 2, expert. You can create a disguise in 1 minute. If you are master, you can create a disguise and impersonate for 3 actions. If you're legendary, you can do it with just 1. And this isn't even uncommon. You can just be the amazing master of disguise. So rumor. This is uncommon again, so check with GM. Level 2, expert, again with a firebrand's background. You spread a rumor about some subject. You make a deception check against the DC chosen by the GM, so probably level-based, probably hard. If you succeed or better, then the creatures attempting to gather information on the topic will gather your rumors, or at least have a good chance to gather your rumors instead of gathering the actual information. Very focused on subterfuge types games, but very cool. Double speak. We're up to level 7 now, requiring master. You can pass information to allies without other creatures who can overhear you realizing it. It's a secret language you have amongst your party. If creatures want to know that you are passing secrets, it must succeed at a perception check against your deception DC, which if you're master and you probably have decent charisma, that's going to be hard for them to do. So this is a very cool way for you to speak in front of enemies. Slippery secrets, level 7, master. You make it difficult to read your mind or reveal your secrets using magic. If a magical spell or effect would try to pull information from your mind, you can make a deception check against the spell or effect's DC, revealing nothing on a success. Later in a campaign, this could be very useful for keeping stuff secret and hidden from like the big bad, because that usually comes out. The only level 15 feat is from an adventure path, but I'll still cover it here as it could apply to any campaign, but this is definitely a check with your GM. It is a rare one. Reveal Machinations. This is rare again, level 15, takes legendary to have. This can only be used against a humanoid. You attempt to reveal some truth of a master plan, including that humanoid. You attempt a deception check against the humanoid's will DC. On a crit success, creature is frightened 3. On a success, they are frightened 2. Also, you gain information as if a crit success succeeded on a recall knowledge check. So you're getting all sorts of information. Finally, you can only do this once per day per humanoid and must disguise yourself as someone different each time you try. So a lot built into that, feels very legendary, and could be a very cool thing to do at high levels, assuming your GM is okay with it. GMs, be aware this can unravel your plans if you've got some sort of hidden evil villain that's behind everything. As you can see, the majority of the skills do relate to social encounters, but there are some great standouts for combat as well. When it comes to exploration, there really isn't anything you can do with deception outright, unless you're very creative, but it's unlikely to come up too much in that pillar of play. In downtime, you could spend your time doing things like sowing rumors and such, or just, deceiving people into giving you information, but that's about it. You're not going to be making a lot of money off of deception unless you're very, very good at it. There are quite a few classes that can easily benefit from taking high levels of deception because they are charisma based anyway. These are your bard, oracle, psychic, scoundrel, rogue, sorcerer, summoner, thaumaturge, lots of charisma based classes. But there's also a couple of specific subclasses that utilize deception and therefore might even be more interesting to think about. The two that come to mind for me are the pistolero gunslinger and the fencer swashbuckler. Both get to use I think Gunslinger really leans into create a distraction heavily, but it can also range feint, and the Fencer Swashbuckler feints as a primary aspect of its subclass. The trained action feint makes deception a valuable tool for any melee combatant, especially those who are finesse-based, I think, would like it the most. Creative diversion is always useful for ranged martial characters, making enemies off guard, but also just giving you a way to hide easily. For GMs out there, don't follow the default actions words too closely. There are so many ways to deceive that you should allow your players to really get creative with it. If you're at a loss for how to handle a check, I suggest just going with the standard DC list, either making it harder or easier based on what's going on in the situation, and then just letting them really play into it and seeing if they can pull off a challenging check or maybe an easier check if they say something really interesting to deceive. I'm going to go work on my best disguise yet. Go have fun, starting rumors, and as always, adventure on.